Hello there, Shortcuts. This is video 2 for the price list that will go out this Wednesday, July 9th at 9 p.m. Sydney time sharp. If you would like to be on the price list, then drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. This list is a little bit different. I have a couple of 90s records. There are a lot of 80s records, some goth, some new wave, some punk, and yeah, lots of UK first presses in this mix as well. All right, now this kickoff record is very rare. We're talking the height of the CD age. We're talking very small numbers of records printed. And this is the holy grail of this particular record. It is the US first press. This is the US first press of Jewel, Pieces of You, or as it says down here, what we call human nature, in actuality, is human habit. This is the 4-side double LP gatefold in absolutely magnificent condition. Includes the lyric sheet, an additional photographs, which is like a little, and there's a little additional kind of section here. And the albums themselves are absolutely pristine on the Atlantic label. So, I was quite surprised when I came upon this one. And I figured this might be a holy grail for some of you out there. Jewel Kilcher, classically trained singer-songwriter from Homer, Alaska. And she became an unexpected pop phenomenon. I think, I wasn't here in Australia in the 90s. I think she would be super popular here, from what I can tell. We're talking someone armed with an acoustic guitar and a wounded kind of slacker voice at times. She was plucked from the coffee shops of San Diego and became a runaway success. It's very earnest, it's very unfiltered, it's very diary oriented. It's sometimes naive, sometimes really quite confronting. But critics didn't like it, but people loved it. And it's been kept alive because of that reverence for it at the time. And I think I read it's like 12 times platinum in the US, absolute juggernaut. This is a quintessential 90s Gen X emotional lodestone product and became a blueprint for lots of confessional singers, Fiona Apple, Alanis Morissette, of course, and probably even a progenitor early kind of view of what Taylor Swift might be. This original pressing is super rare, especially in this condition. It's absolutely perfect. I spoke to the owner. He said he's played it once. And, you know, I believe him. It's absolutely perfect record, considering what it is. And unlike a lot of 90s records, they made the effort to actually press it on a double LP, so it sounds really nice. Really nice. Yeah. That opening track is still... even for me, which I'm not a fan of this record, but I do think that opening track stops you in your tracks. It's a standstill track. All right, we're going to move on to some things that are very different. Lots of UK and Europe first presses. And we're going to start here. The Sisters of Mercy, First and Last and Always. 1985, the European first press. Now there's a gatefold centerpiece. That's a statement of intent. If this If this record doesn't scream goth at you, then there's something up. It is unbelievable. Look at this, talking about a moody image. Sisters of Mercy. I remember seeing Sisters of Mercy on Top of the Pops singing My Corrosion. Gosh, I don't know when that would have been. Late 80s, probably, I don't know. And it was a moment. I remember going, I went and bought that record. I think everyone did. I didn't get it. It wasn't what I understood. But the band have a legacy. I had a listening night here with some of my friends who like to play records, and one of the attendees, and you know who you are, sir, played some 12-inch Sisters of Mercy and various other things. And they were an uncompromising band led by the enigmatic Andrew Eldritch. They were post-Joy Division punk with a bit of the grandeur, I suppose, of the Doors and the precision that came with the Roland drum machine. It's very brooding. It's very atmospheric. Your temptation all the time is to turn it up, even though to me it's very emotionally and sonically cold. It's like the guitars are like black ice over the mechanized rhythms. It's a very peculiar and particular style, and of course, it led to proper full-on goth post-punk madness, and bands like this kind of were, I guess, the original kickstone of this type of stuff. This is the Dance Society. This is from 1982. Seduction, the 6-track album. This is proper, deep, grimy, challenging post-punk. This is the UK First Press from 1982. I hear a lot of bands in this music. I hear the Pixies. This clearly is an influence on bands like Sisters of Mercy, had to have been. I hear The Wire. It's really cool. I'm really happy that there were 2 copies of this in the box, because I've kept one, which means there's one available. Give this a listen if you're into new wave post-punk. It is really something. The Dance Society 6-track album called Seduction. It's pretty massive. I'm a big fan, kind of a bit obsessed with that record. Also in the box was this. This is really something and very unusual. This is a 10-inch. The 10-inch is called Short Circuit, live at the Electric Circus. So it turns out, because I had to go and research this because I've never heard of it, that this album was recorded over 2 nights at the Electric Circus in Manchester in 1977. And it documents the death of the crumbling post-punk British explosion and the birth of something else. This music is raw, sweaty, wild, fast, loud. And it features bands like this. The opening track is Stepping Out by The Fall, and it is so jagged and almost amateurish that you cannot hardly believe what this band became. It then has John Cooper Clarke, and it has a track called At a Later Date by Joy Division. Now, going back and kind of thinking this through and looking at the Joy Division history, I would assume that when they were on this bill in 1977, they weren't Joy Division, they were Warsaw. And this record came out at a point when they changed their names, etc. So they kind of backdated it. this does not sound like Joy Division that I've ever heard. This does not have Ian Curtis's spectral voice. This has Ian Curtis the punk. This is pure post-punk, and it is angry and it's spitting. It's really something. This also features the drone, Steel Pulse, The Fall again, and then finishes with Time's Up by the Buzzcocks. What? You're into this. There it is. A beautiful condition, 10-inch, special press. So I was reading up on this. Let me just see if I can get the details. The UK pressing is sought after both for its historic content and distinctive style sleeve. Yeah, I guess so. Apparently there were only 5,000 copies ever made, but for those who did make it, who did get a copy, it was played at a lot of parties and people fell hard for this record. Short Circuit live at the Electric Circus. All right. Now, I have two Susie and the Banshee records here. One is a Spanish first press and one is a UK first press. The Spanish first press is Join Hands, the second record by Susie and the Banshees. It's actually a really nice kind of gatefold. The vinyl is really, really good, as is a lot of the vinyl from the 80s is just fantastic. Join Hands, kind of quite a haunted ceremonial descent into post-punk. There's a lot of screeching, grinding guitars, militant drumming, lots of harmonics though. It's a very melodically interesting record. And some of those tracks made it onto the Once Upon a Time singles collection. Now this is the UK first press, and it features the full version of Israel, which was then compromised in future releases. So I played the first couple of tracks of this, and it is so loud and so bracing that my wife was like, turn that SH1T off, please. So somebody else can enjoy that. It's clearly a hugely influential band, and the singles collection is what it, as you listen to it, you realize this band were top level at reinventing themselves, whether it be kind of skeletal, throbbing Hong Kong Garden all the way through to like big gothic cinematic songs like Spellbound. This band were highly collectible. You can really get into them. They're really cool. And I really like that a lot. All right. Probably the other end of the kind of 80s spectrum in the UK were artists like Billy Bragg. This is the UK first press of Brewing Up with Billy Bragg, a puckish satire on contemporary moors. The solo artist with a Telecaster and a righteous conscience, as I used to describe him. This was on the original, I think this press is Go Discs as well. Let's just double check. Yeah, the original UK green Go Discs label, which was a really small indie label that put this out. This record became a true critical darling, and I was surprised to see just how many copies it sold, like hundreds of thousands. It was a huge hit for such a stripped back and kind of cool record. The producer at the time was a guy called Ted DeBono, and he absolutely insisted on kind of zero studio sweetening. So you sometimes hear a little crackle, or you hear him tap the mic stand, and you hear him tap the guitar. It's quite something. And this Saturday Boy was a top 50 UK single. And so, Billy Bragg, Brewing Up. The opposite of Billy Bragg is something like The Associates. Now, this is from 1981. This is called Fourth Drawer Down, and this is theatrical, falsetto, experimental, kitchen sink production, defied categorization. This is somewhere between Scott Walker and indie pop, and lands maybe closer to post-punk. It's not a traditional album, but it's a compilation of singles that they released across 1980 and into 1981. White Car in Germany, A Girl Named Property, The Associate, An Even Whiter Car. This is a really interesting band, full of tension and imagination, and they really went somewhere. If you like Sulk and some of their later records, then this is really good. And I really like the design of the sleeve. You've got this kind of mirror image, this watery, kind of murky feel to it. It's really cool. Great band, and a really interesting record that's also a UK first press. And several tracks, I remember John Peel playing The Associates very distinctly. I used to listen to John Peel on my radio in my room in the dark when I would go to bed, and my mum would be constantly shouting at me, "Turn that off." My brother hated John Peel. In fact, there's a record coming up that John Peel played every single track on his show at some point or another. We'll get to it in a few minutes. All right, now we have on the Beggar's Banquet label, the Southern Death Cult. So those of you who might know the history of the cult might know the Southern Death Cult. This was Ian Astbury's first band before the cult. A really kind of brief but again potent fusion of post-punk and goth energy and anti-colonial lyrics and angry, grumpy Ian Astbury. Very atmospheric, very cool, and quite different to what the cult became. It's kind of raw, somewhat unfinished, but I think a really interesting artifact for those who love the cult, because this is where they started, the Southern Death Cult. And I just want to show you the label, because I do love that Beggar's Banquet black and white label. It's just really cool. Right, now we get some really weird stuff. This is very rare and has something very interesting in it as well. I'm going to pull it out first. I'm going to show you that in a second. This, I'm sure most of you will not know this. This is Talk Like a Whelk by Shoes for Industry. Look at that for a back sleeve as well. This is a very surreal record, released on a label that I've never heard of called, here you go, Fried Egg Records. Talk Like a Whelk. Now, there were very few copies of this record ever made. And it's not because of the quality of the music. I guess it's just because of how the cookie crumbled, I guess. There are tracks like Jerusalem, The Flasher, that are really interesting for those who like your post-punk with layers of wit and absurdity. I'm going to come back to the wit bit in a second. It was virtually ignored in release, except by John Peel, but has become a bit of a cult classic for those who like kind of DIY outsider music. It's very eccentric and has lots of kind of historical, anarchic themes. And it has this in it. So this is a press release that the lead singer, Les Bassett Davies, who was the vocalist and saxophone player, wrote. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read a part of it because you'll get a sense of what this is. Our music, basically, is a reflection of our haircuts. For us, the hair comes first and is the driving force. Our music can be seen on the one hand as an attempt to understand and to interpret hairstyling, and on the other, an attempt to transcend or even defy hair. And so it goes on for quite a long way. I suppose this is a treatise against the bands that might have been popular at the time, but I think it makes the lead singer come across like a bit of a whelk. All right. This is the record that John Peel absolutely adored. And it's documented how he played every track. It is actually quite rare as well. And I've thought pretty long and hard about keeping this, but I think there may be some people that this might mean more to. This is Nightingales. This is a band that formed from the ashes of another kind of short-lived band called the Prefects. Brummy, post-punk, led by this guy called Richard Lloyd. Angular, very uncool. It's noisy, sneering, pretty messy, and utterly compelling. And John Peel absolutely loved it. It was recorded in a couple of days, clearly no budget. And as John Peel described it, as one of the great underdog albums of all time. It is a mix of kind of indie jangle rock and pub grit and just noise. Start from scratch, use your local. They were probably a bit too clever for their time. This record, this is the UK First Press, absolutely pristine condition on this label here. It's absolutely fantastic condition. And a very strange record, really weird and compelling and nuts. I can completely see why John Peel would just fall for it. He famously said that Nightingales were the best band in Britain, at least for a little while. That's so John Peel. And there's another record that I'm going to put on that's on the list here as well. There's another group that you probably don't know, but have their roots in shoegaze. This is from 1992, and this is a record called XYZ by a band called Moose. Think of this as like early Ride, early Lush, but with a little bit more of an Americana leaning, dreamy, jangly, unusually sophisticated album. But it came out 1992, right? This is the period when grunge was taking over, and the shimmer of these tracks like Call It What You Want or the lazy swing of Little Bird, Are You Happy in Your Cage with reverb-laden guitars and subtle orchestration and breathy vocals. It just wasn't going to hit the hit. It's not going to hit the mark, and it didn't. And it's a real shame. If you like dream pop, then this record's great. And talking of dream pop, what about this? Said Pop by the Darling Buds. Another kind of dream pop, interesting record. This is 1989. Wales's answer to Blondie. Really tight, sugary guitar rush, bright and fun. And yeah, it's a complete favorite amongst jingle jangle pop collectors and maybe those people who like that kind of 80s alternative scene. It kind of flirted with the charts without really catching on, but it's a really lovely record. I've got two to go. They're kind of curiosities, but kind of interesting. Bow Wow Wow by Sea Jungle Go. A kind of a stable of, in that Malcolm McLaren stable of African driving rhythms with female vocalists and playing and subverting themes. They were quite a controversial band, Bow Wow Wow. Really, they really were. But the guitarist in this band, Matthew Ashton, is what lends it its chops, because he is a really, really cool guitarist. Bow Wow Wow. And then finally, I've got non-stop ecstatic dancing, not non-stop erotic dancing. This is the remix of the original band, of the original Soft Cell non-stop erotic cabaret. But it features one track that I just want to remember, Memorabilia. Wow, what a great song that is. If you don't know it, it's on early Mute Records single. Great bass line. Yeah, really cool. Soft Cell, really fun band. there you have post-punk, proper punk, electronic, shoegaze, new wave, pop, and at the top, a bit of goth just to get us going. And then a 90s classic from Jewel to start the ball rolling. If you would like to be on this price list for this rather wild list, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. The price list will go out this Wednesday, July 9th at 9 p.m. sharp, Sydney time. Please leave a comment, like, all that good stuff, and engage with me if you would like to. And thank you if you've watched this far. Bye.